Hi everyone, Carrie here. Just wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you a little bit about some things I learned this week about um, having online students do research that I found really helpful and that you might find helpful as well if you're teaching 121 or 122. In the past, when I would do research units online, I would generally suggest to students that they just go to whichever is their home campus and use the library there. So they should go to the Westminster Library or the Harmony Library in Fort Collins or the Boulder Library on the Boulder campus. And that's just kind of how I always went about it. And of course, a couple years ago, I heard that online had purchased its own databases specifically for online students to use. And the reason for this is that not all students have easy access to a campus. Not all students, especially if they're entirely online, actually consider themselves as having a home campus. And so, how do we accommodate all those students? And so, online has actually purchased some databases that your students can use, but there's a few different options available here. And so, I just want to go through all of them so I can make sure that you are informed and you can make sure that your students are informed. Okay, so where I was getting confused is I would go to the library's link and I would see we have the Boulder County Campus Library, we have Harmony, we have Westminster. And then if you click on online learning, it doesn't really give you very much. It really just says that if you need help, contact the help desk or this phone number or go to one of these other campuses. So that's what I had been telling students to do, and that just isn't the extent of what we can actually offer. So here we are now in my online English 121 learning community class. This is paired with Eric Salhub's Philosophy 112 class, so we co-teach this class together. That's why you can see a picture of us both sitting here. But you'll notice in our course, up here in the upper right corner, it says click here for access to online library databases, and that'll take students directly to this page where they can click on articles and databases, and immediately they get a list of databases. I've actually been told that there should be more here. I think Online Learning purchased 20 different databases, but there's at least 10 of them here. And I've gone through, and they're really good databases, ones that we often refer students to. And so I think that with this offering, it's probably sufficient enough for students to do library research online for 121 or 122. Certainly they're welcome to use the other libraries as well, but this at least provides a good starting place, and it provides enough for students who don't have a campus that they operate off of. Okay, so how did I get that little widget in my class? So some of you may be aware of how to get the online library databases to show up in your class homepage, and some of you may not. And so if you don't know how to do this, this is how you would do it. You would just come down to Course Administration, and you're going to click on Home Pages. And then you're going to choose number 3. So the one that it defaults to, if you haven't set this up, is the standard homepage, and that is not going to give you access to the online databases. But if you go down to number 3 here, Online Homepage, you'll see it says Online Library Databases widget. So you would go in and you would drop down to number 3 and you would hit Apply. And then you would go back to your main page, and that would build this in for you. And so that's all you have to do. And then when students want to access that library database, all they need to have, they don't need a library card. They just need to enter their username, which is their S number, and their password, which is their birthday, just as if they were logging in on a campus computer. One thing you should know and you should tell your students is that if they have logged on a campus computer and they've changed their password from the birthday to something new, then that's what they would use. If they have any trouble figuring out what their password is, though, or if they need to reset it, they can do so just by calling this number right here. So what's nice about that is we don't have to then require online students to make a trip to campus to get a library card to do online research for our classes. Okay. Something else that I've figured out as well in talking with the Harmony Library is that if you are an instructor who is based at the Larimer campus, you can go in and get a library card that is specifically a barcode that you can share with your online students so that they can simultaneously access the Harmony library databases. So this would be totally legal and it's totally licensed to do this through the library. The only requirement is that the instructor is based at the Larimer campus. And so what you would do is you would go in, you would get this card, it would have a barcode on it, and you would just give your students your last name and the barcode, and that's what they would use when they wanted to sign in to use the databases. And so why might you do this if you're based on the Larimer campus rather than just embedding the online databases into your course as I showed you before? Well, one reason, probably the main reason, is just that there's a more comprehensive list here of databases. So I'm scrolling down through these. I'm only halfway through the alphabet, and we've already, tripled the amount that we saw in the online offering. And so there's just a lot more. And if you're someone who's based on the Larimer campus and you're used to using this library, then it may just make you feel more at home to have your students using it. So some things you might be wondering is, why can't you just give your students your own public library card number? Don't do that because students could then have records. They could access your records of everything that you've taken out before. With the barcode that you would go in and get from the library, students would not be allowed to check things out with that. They would only be allowed to access databases. Other things, I think I already mentioned that simultaneous logins are allowed. So multiple students could be using one barcode, and that would be fine. Can students in Westminster use the College Hill Library? Yes, they can do that. They don't need to use the Larimer campus. If you have students who are based on the Westminster site, or if you have students who are based on the Boulder County campus site, if they are residential students and they already have a library card, they are absolutely welcome to go use the databases at those libraries. I would just say that I've looked at the offerings of databases through College Hill and through Boulder. The Westminster databases are pretty comprehensive, like the Harmony, but the Boulder are very, very limited. And so I think the students would be better off using the online, the ones that online has purchased, rather than going to the Boulder campus. So what I ended up doing to make this a little bit easier for my students to understand is I gave them a little document that explained the 3 different options to them. Now, if you're not based on the Larimer campus, you'd probably only give them 2 different options, but this is the second option if you are located on the Larimer campus. So this is it. You can pause the screencast if you want to look at this document a little bit more, but that's just some advice on how you might think about helping your students gain access to those databases if you're doing library research with them. The last thing I wanted to show you is that there are some guides online to help students who are taking English 121 or English 122 learn a little bit more about the library and how to use databases and evaluate sources and so forth. I believe our librarians at the Westminster campus developed these resources within our Front Range website. And so if you went to this site, you would see we have English, and you'd click on that, and you could see there's some resources under here for different classes. And so if you were teaching English 121, you might click on 121, and you'll see they give you a guide here that addresses these things. You can go in and have your students learn about evaluating sources. There's a little screencast for them. They can learn about pre-research and background information. They can learn a bit about online databases and so forth. The same thing would go for English 122. There's some resources in here that I think go a little bit more in depth than the 121 resources do. So you could certainly send your students here and have them look at some of these materials. I only have the direct link to this. I don't know how to find this through the Front Range website. I've tried searching it before and I wasn't able to find it, but I do have that link. And so if you want it, just send me an email and I'd be happy to share that link with you. That will take you directly to these pages. The other piece of advice I might give is just it's really easy to make a screencast showing students these things yourself. If you think that this information is too generic, you might just set 15 minutes aside to go and make a screencast where you go visit the library databases and you walk students through some of those processes as well. That's something that I think can help our online students a lot figure out how to navigate the library terrain. So anyways, just wanted to share some of those ideas with you because those are some of the struggles and things that I've been working on in my online class this week. And so hopefully this will have been of use to some of you. And if you have any questions or follow-up, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. Thanks.